I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching 86, Season 1, Episode 20. I'm only going to refer to Kiri going forward as Pale Rider.
It's a cool name.
It's a cool name, but what comes with it is the entire idea of the Legion's communication, and that makes it even more daunting.
I think emotionally, it totally brings into the conversation the kind of same situation for the people of Alba being able to not really bat an eye at the atrocities that were happening when they're being consistently told that these are unmanned juggernauts. And with this, we are told of the Legion, and then we get the idea that they are like the brains and basically even the consciousness of fallen comrades, which makes the fact of fighting them just that much harder emotionally to do, but also way more fulfilling if you want to think about it that way, of basically setting these people free.
So, for the past week, you've been stuck in Europe, basically, right? You went on a trip and you were trying to come home, and then because of a hurricane, it got delayed. And
literally the day I was supposed to travel home, it was like, oh, there's a hurricane.
Yeah, I've been alone, sitting in my 86 thoughts. And within that, I have so much praise for just like the narrative intention that the writing of this show has. One being like, yeah, it's a grueling, torturous, like poetic idea that the people that you are facing or the enemy that you are facing is not only like a robotic intelligence, but it's utilizing your own fallen comrades in a torturous, again, way, but in like an intelligent, malicious way. But how fucking amazing is it that time and time again we've gotten reiterated to us the idea that the 86 have survived because of the fact that they are the best of the worst, right? Like in terms of San Magnolia's eyes, like they are trying their fucking best to get these Spearhead killed, but even getting outside of comms range, they are still alive. That means the best of the best is in turn fighting the Legion-controlled people who were not able to reach the heights that Spearhead were. It's so beautiful.
So when we saw the kind of clear fact that Rey was very much still able to be connected with, when we saw his scenes with Shin, I think that we are also seeing from Kiri the next layer, the next level of that, which is possibly denying orders. And we know that Kiri is very much being driven by this hatred of feeling like Frederica had been killed.
Yeah.
And what could happen if the Legion is utilizing amazing talent, you know, with these consciousness of 86 and other fallen people that they have stolen, amazing talent, but that could come back to bite them with the fact that if those people and their will is still in there somewhere, that could just wreak havoc on the system, almost like hacking the system.
Yeah.
What if the hearts are reached, or whatever is the heart, you know, within the brain is reached, and more start denying orders, or Kiri rejecting orders ends up having some sort of domino effect that really attacks the Legion at the core of the fact that they have stolen people, basically.
I'm so scared of the plot line of Frederica having Shin's gun. I'm hopeful that it doesn't go anywhere on one hand, but on the other hand, I'm like, fuck. Like, what does that mean for Frederica? Hopefully nothing will happen. There's a vague possibility that even though we're heading home to the base, Frederica somehow comes in contact with Kiri. Shin's about to die. She shoots at Kiri, and Kiri sees Frederica alive. Like, I have no idea what will actually happen, but I'm terrified.
I'm interested in the fact that you find that you have fear with that plot point happening. If anything, I view it as more of a confirmation that Shin is not going to die within the events that are about to transpire. the fact that like what has been taken from him is basically that last, now you can't die because your head will be stolen.
Gotcha.
Like it's almost like an extra layer of you have to come home.
That's
And you
fair.
have to fight until the very end because you don't want them taking your head and your head being used to fight everyone else that you love.
Maybe I'm not scared. Maybe I'm just thinking of all these possibilities because I'm excited.
I mean, it's definitely an emotionally harsh scene there in terms of like the gravity.
Uh-huh.
As Frederica says, this is the gun that killed Eugene and your comrades. Like
exactly.
that holds a lot of weight that is hard to even think about something holding that a weight being in the hands of a child.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
最新軍が始まった。
9th.
連合王国軍は我が連邦軍の別動隊と共同し、支配域北側の線路一帯を制圧する。連合王国が陽動を買って出たか。それでも連邦軍本体が進軍すれば、レギオンの目に留まらないはずがない。盟約同盟が開発中の対レーダー兵器を使う。
Anti-radar weapon.
They agreed to be... Wow.
それによってレギオン間の通信を
Small metal particles.
だけ使えば連合王国軍を本校と判断させる程度の時間は持つと。同盟軍も思い切った。
Interesting.
Going all in. I mean, at this point, you have to.
レギオンを相手に有効に使えるのは最初の一度だけだというのに。敗北しては次などない以上、当然の判断だ。連邦とてそうだろう。
Laying it all on the line. God, I want to check in with Lena so bad.
Dude, like, I do too, and it's not out of worry. It's out of just sheer, like, presence.
I want to see the epic boss-ass bitch stuff she's doing right now. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see her, like, with a sword, just, like, stabbing machines.
Like, I get it. Wenzel is the pilot of the Natsera. But I just feel out of sheer just presence on screen, Lena could fly it without any practice. Like, just like, yep, I can do it. No worries. Easy. That's some, like, fanfic type shit that I need to see. Like, Lena operating the Natsera.
I feel like if we're going to see any imagery of Lena, it's the statue that is within San Magnolia. Almost like a manifestation of the original ideals of the society that had been neglected.
The gun's broken, Anna. What does that mean?
Frederica
has it.
Wait. They've both left behind their markings of all the comrades that have died. Like Lena's box of all the pictures of the faces, and then Shin's gun.
Oh no. Good.
Will only work once.
シン、お前フレデリカ連れて戻れ。なんでレギオンどもがうじゃうじゃいる中を見つからねえで戻るんだ。お前以外できるわけねえだろうが。追撃は奴が線路上しか移動できねえならパラレイド越しでもなんとかなる。陽動と本体への対応だけでレギオンが手一杯になるとでも。交戦なんてしていたらすぐに全滅するのは前にこの支配域を通った経験で分かってるだろ。今のお前に引っ張られてくよかいくらかマシだ。お前が頭おかしいのは昔からだがさっきの戦闘は
You're a
I love him noticing.
顔も知らねえ。フレデリカの騎士の亡霊にかなんだか知らねえが。一体どうした？遺憾ながら長い付き合いだからな。お前自身が見えてねえもんもちっとは見えてる。フラしやがって。会った時に逆戻りか。誰にも心を許さない。異名通りの首のない死神みてえによ。だったらお前たちこそフレデリカを連れて戻れ。足手まといを連れて行くくらいなら一人で追った方が。
Wow.
なんだと。
What?
もし帰れなくなるなら俺一人で十分だ。
It's a one-way mission.
そうやっててめえ一人犠牲になれ済むなんて考えてんじゃねえぞ。何が帰れなくなったらだ。帰ってこねえみてえな言い方してんじゃねえ。けどお前今生きて帰ってくるつもりもなかったろうが。兄貴を撃ってやったのは何のためだ。先に進むためだったんじゃねえのか。兄貴撃つために生きてきたんじゃねえだろ。飽き違えてんじゃねえよ。
Don't misunderstand that.
それなら何のためだ。何のためなら俺は 俺は死にたくねえ。それだけだ。多分他の奴らも同じだろうぜ。ただこれでも道連れだからな。
Oh my god.
Look, they're basically one person. Oh, wow.
Oh my god.
だから一人で戦おうとすんじゃねえ。
What an effective use of shadows.
なんか僕だけ阻害されてるっていう微妙に同じ男扱いされてない気がするんだよ。あの二人付き合いないから。
Of course, we're covering
Yeah.
Greta's mouth.
A lot happened before we met them.
暴れないの。二人の喧嘩に吹っ飛んでったクレナちゃんが悪いんだから。犬の言う
That tracks.
そんなことないもん。
That focus pull we had to the train tracks, I was like,
I was looking, I was searching for
そ
them.
うかもね。シン、最近少しおかしいし。
Look at Frederick.
今から思うとあの時から変だったよね。絶対死ぬって分かってるのに行くような真似は自分も他のやつにもさせなかったのに。クレナはもうちょっとさ、向き合ってみた方がいいと思うよ。いつまでも追いかけてるだけじゃなくてさ、シンだっていつまでも僕たちのための死神じゃないんだよ。
The gun.
アンジュはずっとそれ心配して
Like
た
a
よ。
glorified image of him as your savior.
似たようなものだから家族からいらないって言われた子供がどう考えてしまうのかは少しだけ知ってるわ。自分のせいなのかって思ってしまうの。頭ではそうじゃないって分かってても自分を責める気持ちは消えないの。
Oh, well, so we get like almost like a shot of
言わ
her
れただ
back.
けじゃなかったんでしょ、お兄さんから。
Good catch.
一人じゃ消せないのよ、そういうのって。
By yourself.
僕たちは所詮僕たちが死ぬまで一緒にいてとしか言えてないからね。
It's true.
法的に頼ってるだけでいつかいなくなるつもりだったの。
How can you save him?
You were just, oh my god, like you
Oh.
were using him. Wow.
Holy shit.
シン、きっと初めて先に行くって言えたのにね。やっぱり全滅か。
The
追い
flower.
ついてこられなかったんだね、少佐。
Catch up with us. It's like they wanted her to follow.
言っとくけどクレナ、今すごいチャンスだからね。
Romantically?
落ち込んでる時っていうのはつけ込みやすいらしいよ。
言っとくけどセオくん、それを実行するのは悪い女だからね。
それもそうか。
Doesn't fit her archetype.
私そんなんじゃ、もしかして死にバレてたり。
Everyone knows.
Krena
But
better
maybe
not
not
die.
him.
感づいてはおるが、子供の憧れや独占欲の類と
Possessiveness. Possessiveness.
それも手のかかるね。
Look at the steam coming off
Oh
of her
my
head.
god.
とも思われておらぬようじゃが。
As a woman at all.
I mean, it's probably correct.
She gets it completely.
きっと役に立ってるよね。
Bro, I got like chills like 4 times during that scene. Fido.
そう心配しなくても一人で行くような無茶はしない。一人で行った方が 気楽ではあるんだけどな。
Together unto death. There's so much dead imagery.
Like the flower,
少々
the bug.
そろそろ起床時刻だ。
Is he sleeping in his uniform? That's
先
dedication.
ほどようやく同調がつながった。共和国のこの技術は
Parried.
ようやくつながった。
互いの意識を介するからな。相手が眠っているとつながらない。こんな敵地のただ中で眠れるとは。
They were basically always asleep in enemy territory.
事情というわけか。
Yeah.
彼らが今どこにいると思う？
Mm.
こちらが夜通し進軍しても追いつけやしない。まったく可愛げのない。
いいものと思っていたが。
どうも誤解があるようだが、私はただよく切れる剣は活用すべきだと考えているだけだ。それに越したことは。万が一にもレギオンに取り込まれたのではかなわん。
Yeah.
とっとと回収してやらんとな。
Jesus, imagine Shin being a legion.
はいかしら、軍曹。
Yes.
お言葉そのままお返ししますよ。
やれるだけのことはやったもの。
The
あとは
respect.
信じるしかないわ。
テレギンレイブの予備機と弾薬と修理部に 整備クルーごと後方から運ばせてるんでしょ。
I love the reoccurring characters of the repair
あれから
crew.
参謀長
Right.
閣下に無理やりねじ込んでらして。
ああって後方に下がればって言った。
そりゃカッコつかねえでしょうよ。でっかいムカデ
Loyalty
って帰ってきたら
Their big
おっさん
centipede.
のはみっともなく飲んだくれてたとかバカにされるじゃないですか。あのクソガキどもにね。
Ah, stop it. Stop.
クスも損傷か。思った以上に損耗がひでえな。
この戦闘で破片食らってるし、ライデンも吹っ飛ばされた時に機銃片方折れちゃったもんね。
Shoot.
無事なのは
Getting
They're
weaker.
used to not having repairs though.
ブレードの替えはなくなっちま
He's
った。
out of spare blades though.
こっちも昨日から駆動艦の
Oh,
調子が悪い。
shit.
最初の戦闘で負荷をかけすぎたみたい。僕はそのくせまだ直してねえのか。しばらく
What
は
a crazy
制御
shot.
まだ動けなくなるほどじゃない。
It makes me nervous to. Oh my god.
すぐぶっ壊れるからな。
Oh my
ダメ
god.
じゃすんなよ。バックの残数からして明日いっぱいが追跡の限界だ。つけるだろうけど、それまで持たせる努力はした方が良さそうだな。つくまではか。
What a cool way to show us how connected, how distant they are from each other on the battlefield and communicating.
Oh my god.
It's like when we first left. It's like we're going back. That's wow.
海のようじゃ。そなたら誰ぞ海を見たことはあるかの。そういえば
線空移動の
Oh,
輸送機
didn't
から
Eugene
一回
want
だけ
to
見えた
go
と
to the
思うけど、
sea?
今から思うと違うかも。
近くにでっかい湖があったからよく遊びには行ったよ。
このような景色も知らなんだ。
Beautiful.
知らぬものばかりじゃ。海に行きたい。海水浴とやらがしてみたいぞ。と楽しから。
You deserve it.
海か。確かに行ってみたいかも。
特に気温が低い時は上を歩けるんですって。
Anju gets me.
よく知ってるな。
行こう。戦争が終
Wow.
わったらみんなで。
There's like legitimate distance between them. Ah!
And he's oh Frederica sitting up.
明日起こすまで待機状態に切り替えておけと命じたろ。わかった。好きにしろ。
珍しく喋っておると思えば相手はファイドか。
どうした？
今日そなたらのこの景色をずっと見ておった。実に美しかった。あんな景色の中だけでそなたらが生きてきたのじゃが、わかる気がしたんじゃ。ひどく突き放した見方をしておる理由がな。この美しさもこの地に住む人間がおらんからじゃ。
Ooh.
そんな光景がレギオンらの望みなの
Maybe
だ
that
な。
scenery is what the Legion
どうだ
want.
かな。望んでなんていないのかもしれない。
What do they? I want to know what they want.
Yeah, they're
亡霊が
ghosts.
本来何も望まないもの。
なぜわかる？
俺も同じだから。
Says it like he's died before.
That night I failed to
俺は
die,
まだ死んだまま
and
だ
I。think I'm still
あ
dead.
の夜から何も望めてはいない。やりたいことも行きたい場所も特にない。それで別に困ることもないけど、夕方みたいにあんな程度のやりたいことでさえ何も出てこないのはっていうのは少し分かった。
でも楽しかったであろう。去年の秋は何もかも自ら決めて進んだ初めて手にした自由じゃったんじゃろ。
楽しかった。すぐに終わると思っていたから。
Because I thought it would be over soon.
知るものだと生き延びてしまって。
Unfortunately,
死ぬは
We
ずだった俺には
I was supposed to die.
未来なんて長すぎて。俺はお前の騎士じゃない。それは分かった。
How do you save somebody who doesn't want to be
悪かっ
saved?
たな。お前の騎士を手にした。
Basically an excuse to die.
行き着く果てまで進むことに変わりはないけど、その先に兄さんはもういないから。
It's
当
like
面代わりになる目的を持ちたかったんだと思う。
それだけではないと思うがの。鏡の見方が間違っておることも自覚すべきじゃ。が思うておるほど冷酷な太刀ではないわ。お人よしの死神が。そなたが応じてくれたからキリを解放してやれる。泣いておる様は哀れであった。解放してやりたかった。木を見続ける定めから解放されたかった。わらわはキリを打たれるのは
Of really dying.
失うのは恐ろしい。わらわはこの連邦ではいらぬ子供じゃ。生となったこの国で生きているだけで騒乱の火種となる厄災の子じゃ。誰のためにもよい。それでもいつか我が基地を討ち取ってやるため生きながらえねばならぬと思うておったが、その言い訳ものうなってしまう。それが怖い。そなたが今進むことにおののいておるのはが正しく先を見据えようとしたからじゃ。道なき行く手を直視しようとしたからじゃ。それは恥じることではなかろうし、その間くらい共に行く者どもを支えとすればよい。人と人とが共にあろうとするのはそのためであるぞ。
ライデンにもそう言われたけど、
ならば素直に受け止めることじゃ。
俺はあいつらとは違う。生きようと思っていないことだ。俺だけがまだまともに生きていない死神だ。俺をそう呼ぶあいつらもいつか必ず先に行ってしまう。俺を置いて。
Oh.
ライダーよりノーフェイス。これより
Oh
そっと
no.
ノーフェイス了解。脱事項がある。支配域に侵入した適正
Within
な
our
Oh
territory.
no.
状況を統合し、機関を
Pursuing
追跡して
you.
いるものと推定。機関作戦域近隣にて
了解。
Oh. How creepy to make the smile red.
Okay, that was 86, season 1, episode 20. Karenna got fucking bodied by Frederica. Yo.
I mean, she said what they all knew,
But they
deep down,
don't say.
but you just don't, especially not like that. Like okay, you're all on a battlefield basically. I don't think now's the time to be like eliminating dreams or options for the
No,
future
exactly,
in
like-
someone's mind that might help keep them alive.
Like, even Shin doesn't do that. Like, it's like, okay, we're talking about going to see the sea, going to see the ocean, things that we're excited about. And Shin's like, on the other side of the tracks, being like, I'm not that way, but I'm not gonna, like, point out the flaws in your way of thinking. And Frederica's like, yo, Karenna, you're fucked, bro. Like you're no hope. That you're a little sister.
In
Like,
that conversation, right before what Frederica says, which is like we're having a truth session here, basically. And I would say the first half of what that the truth session, like the content that was in it, was, while harsh and hard to hear, was necessary, and that is because they want to support Shin. It was the idea of the fact that we have already asked him to basically be alone.
yeah.
We have asked him to shepherd us into the afterlife, to make sure that we are not taken by the Legion,
Mm-hmm.
to end our lives. We have put that weight to be the Reaper on his shoulder, and we have asked him to be that.
Yeah.
And
Man.
that is actually an incredibly selfish and isolating thing that they have asked him to do. That they have only asked from him and not necessarily given him that same safety or a savior that they have been given.
Mm-hmm.
And that he really is, and that's what they're all realizing here, and they might have already realized it, is that how can you blame him for talking like and acting like he is truly the one that is alone and
Yeah.
separate from them when they, upon meeting him, accepted him in that position. It's like right now they're trying to breach this gap that they're now realizing was really in their favor, that this gap was there. And when they're trying to like kind of come out of it and cross over and be like, we want to be here to support you, he's been doing this for years. How do you bridge that gap and reach out to him with something that he already has like 564 names in a bucket at this point?
Yeah.
He's been doing this for years, thinking this way, being in this mindset where he's never focused on what his future holds, only on the fact that it is his job to be the one that is left behind.
Yeah. Dude, sorry, I just noticed something. Like, the direction of this episode is fucking incredible. To, like, having train tracks being shown with the conversation of, like, the squad and Shin, or Raiden and Shin, and one of the tracks ending and the other track going forward being, like, a great representation of what Shin is dealing with right now, to this. This is fucking crazy. Like, okay, we're getting Spearhead laying in the same place that we're putting the Rock's position on the screen, Shin
As
being
if they
above
have
it in
their
reflection.
names on them too.
Yeah, it's like it's doing such a great job at conveying, like, Shin's character, by the nature of how it's written, wouldn't necessarily be able to convey exactly how severe of a place Shin is at currently and what those feelings are, besides of the sparse dialogue we get with Frederica. The visualization of the show goes so far in informing me of what Shin's point of view right now is, of the separation and distance between him and that of Spearhead. Like, it's beautiful. Like,
it's interesting to be following a character as your main character that does not see a future for himself and or feels that he has not been truly alive basically since the day of being strangled by his brother.
Yeah.
And I think that another reason why this conversation is incredibly interesting, other than the fact that, like, I've never really followed a character that felt that way about themselves, and I would love to talk about the place that it puts you in as a viewer.
Mm-hmm.
If I can remember that, or you can remember that we want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about how Lena and then Shin are both our main characters. Both of them are, at least when we first met them, they were both dynamically pushing the story forward as these are the future saviors. Mm-hmm. These are the people that are going to fight and fight and fight, and they are the ones that are going to be able to make a change and make a difference. That is kind of where they both were sitting. And I feel like both of them were kind of on this level together for me. And I feel like this episode really shows me how, while they were on the same level in some regard, they are at very different places. I believe that Lena is the type of person who you could view in history as a true martyr if she were to die. That she's gonna go out guns blazing, not intending to die at all.
With the hope for what's right to come to fruition.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with Shin, he's more tied to how Jerome feels and thinks, which is that it was never intended by the fates that he survived this. Mm-hmm. Because of karma, because of history, because of he is the one outlier that isn't truly feeling alive. Therefore, why should he take a spot in life if he's not going to truly enjoy it the way that his fallen comrades have?
Yeah. And it's so fascinating and devastating to try to unpack and think about what should come of Shin and his character. Like, we're given the line from Shin, not having any wishes is the same as not wanting to be alive. That is absolutely devastating and impossible to reply to if you're in a position like anybody in Spearhead or Frederica right now, because you don't have any space to talk on. Mm-hmm. Like, who are you to say otherwise when you're doing your best at trying to relate and motivate the group of desires of what you want to see in the future and trying to offer up ideals that could be exciting or things to look forward to or potential wishes, and there's somebody there that is so disassociated with what you're saying because he has no relation to it, that what can you do other than listen, or try, then listen, and then say what is best for this person. If they truthfully don't want to be here and I've done everything in my power, what do I do next? And it would, maybe if the story goes this way, take somebody that has been in front of somebody saying the same thing and pushed past it like Lena has, to be able to offer up an ideal or a perspective that hasn't been approached yet by Shin.
Right. It really, this line in particular in this scene, it really does give this idea that this person that I almost view as maybe haunting Shin and him not even realizing it, this disembodied voice, that moment that I think that he probably could feel that she was connecting with everyone else through the parade. It does, like, while if this was a romance, it can be very cliche that the one of the romantic leads is the only one that can reach the heart of the other romantic lead if this was a romance. But I feel like if it did end up being the case that Lena was the only one that could figure out exactly what to say or do for Shin, it would not bother me if that was the case, by what has already been written. But I also don't think that he necessarily needs it to be given to him by another character. I think that it could be something that maybe Ray plays a part in it again. Something to do with Frederica and Kiri could play a part. That some other event,
like in self-actualization of like Shin realize like he, at the end of the day, regardless of what triggers it, he needs to be the person to think about it and come out of it himself.
Right, and why you go there, with that being confirmed in our minds as viewers, is that it needs to be him, is the entire dialogue importance of the dialogue in this episode of realizing that putting Shin in the position of being your savior has put him in even further down this hole in the mental situation that he's in. And that you cannot just, whether a romantic relationship or a friendship, be in the position where you are constantly needing someone else to be your regulator, to be your savior, to be the one that you have to double check with, are we happy right now? What can I do? That's not true freedom.
It's such a devastating slope of what Shin's in right now, in such a difficult situation, because when you're at a point of like trying to help someone out and make them look at the positives in life and try to inspire any type of hope, and you're time and time again repeated with so much complexity that you might be like, do they just need a break? Like, is giving them what they want, like Shin in and how it's conveyed this episode is like he's already made so much compromise in his mind of like, I'm still doing this for you, like that you'd question like, do I just let him rest, like finally, like that's what you'd like come to, like bartering within yourself because all your attempts have fallen flat, you know. And even that's so sad.
No matter, like, honestly, like, this is a continuous cycle as long as, at the moment, this is a continuous cycle with no stop, except his death. Because even if Anju, Raiden, Theo, Frederica, even if they all die, the next group of people, he's not going to leave the battlefield. The next lives that he is then going to put himself as the Reaper for, it is a continuous cycle at the moment until he inevitably dies. And I think for this character, I feel like instead of a hand out, he needs something to reach his hand toward. Mm-hmm. Like, he can't just have, and maybe he can, and I'm like saying this really loosely because I could see it going in a lot of ways and being
Definitely.
satisfying and fulfilling. But at least on an emotional level, I feel like, needs to feel like he wants to reach his hand out, and not that someone is just standing in front of him with a hand out offering it.
In like the route that there is, like, you know, that type of character type forward. Like if there is the route of Shin.
Imagine Lena standing there all dynamic with her hair whipping, like we get in the OP.
Mhm.
We get Lena standing there, her hair whipping about. She turns toward him and he can't get his eyes off of her. That is a scene where I feel like he is approaching her.
Yeah.
You know, she is there waiting for him, and he is the one taking steps forward to approach being alive.
It's so fucked and tragic because, like, by the nature of what has been shown to us, I don't have a good guess at where we end, where the story ends. We're on episode 20. I don't know if there are multiple seasons. I don't know what should happen to Shin. I don't, like, Lena's in such a position that her potential reintroduction narratively does not necessarily need to align with Shin surviving. And it doesn't need to. And like some stories would have that necessity. It definitely can align with it, but the uncertainty of that situation is so interesting and terrifying for what the character of Shin needs and what he want. Like, God, like Lena. Okay, we get a vision of a statue that's reminiscent of San Magnolia this episode.
Mm-hmm.
It elicits a response of feeling that, as chasing Kiri and Pale Rider, that there's an opportunity of a Lena reintroduction. And with that, you're like, oh, does that necessarily have to connect to Shin and what he's feeling right now? And I look back at the conversations they have together, and obviously Lena's, you know, the first person Lena communicated with is Shin in terms of like command and post, but Lena has such a relationship with the rest of Spearhead that isn't like that is so heavy that it doesn't need to lean on Shin's survival.
And Rei.
Yeah.
Lena having any sort of connection
Right.
to Rei is also the main, I would say, tie or saving grace of why Lena is the perfect character for Shin to decide to reach his hand out, because this is a child that Rei saved. Shin views himself as basically a child that Rei killed. This is a child that Rei saved.
Yeah.
And he, in this scene where he's talking to Frederica, it keeps grabbing his arm when she's speaking. When he's disagreeing with what she says or saying that he does, he's still reaching toward his Kiri, you know, the name in his jacket. I wonder if, like, a reunion, like, Shin needs to survive this whole battle, it's all complete before Lena comes back in the story. It is a wonder of mine, because this whole episode there were a couple dialogue lines of like, oh, well, the Republic, you know, they're probably all dead now, we still haven't heard from them. Why are we already know this from episodes ago that we haven't gotten in contact with them. We've already had characters speculate that they're probably all dead.
Seeing the statue.
And we're bringing it up again in this episode because what we're seeing is the route, basically the scenery that we had traveled once we had finally left, and once we finally left contact with Lena. That was our first day, basically, of no longer having contact with Lena, was standing in front of that water. And it really ties the whole story in together, with Lena asking everyone if they have plans for the future, to them standing in front of that lake upon finally leaving the reach of the Republic, to arriving into the Federacy and ambling about trying to figure out, should I get a job? Should I go to the store to go shopping? Finally starting to try to assimilate into a society that is new to you and figure out your place in it.
It's devastating. Seeing the butterfly.
It was like yeah. And the ants crawling all over it.
Oh, they did such a beautiful, like, it's so hard to like I'm struggling with it in the discussion. It's so hard to like depict the feelings that Shin is going through with words, that to convey the severity of it and the darkness of it and deepness of it, it takes what they did, and it's so good and it's so sad. Like,
it's one of those cases where I feel like sometimes when I watch shows, like especially like if you're watching like a horror movie or something, you feel like you want to reach into the screen and shake someone and be like, don't go in there, the murderer's in there. But with this show and how Shin is feeling and the place that he's in within his mind, I, as a viewer, am like, I couldn't touch that. If I was transported into this universe, if I had the chance to reach my hands in there, I wouldn't know the right words to say.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be able to reach his heart, make him feel like
Amen.
he wanted to feel alive. So I just need to see how it plays out.
Exactly.
You know, because like I wouldn't be able to fix it.
You're right. It's legitimately like depression. Like it's something that is so real and serious, and it's not like they're going out of their way to be like, I'm trying to convey like this in real life feeling through a character. Like it's staying narrative and story driven. They know what they want to do with the characters, but with the great writing there, it's God, it's so real and visceral.
As a viewer, we're almost in this place. In a lot of stories, sometimes you're kept in a place of having the same knowledge that the characters in the universe have. And in this story, we kind of were to that degree, but we also were aware of all of the interactions that came to be that those people were a part of. So in a way, we are not all knowing, but we are very much knowing. And you would think that someone that is privy to so much information and so much deep internal thought and feelings that maybe the other people that are existing in this cast are not aware of, would be able to be a savior in so many other universes and so many other shows. We as viewers could be a savior to a character because of all that we know and all that we have witnessed. This is not the case, and that is incredibly entertaining and interesting and,
it's unique.
And different and unique.
Fuck. Fido can't even help, bro.
Fido can't
He's
even help.
worried. He doesn't want to listen to Shin.
And then we had Fido disobeying orders to directly segue us to seeing
Fido's
Yuri
the
again
best
at the
of
end.
us, and he can't do anything.
Fido literally was our childhood pet to our robot pet to gonna be dead and might have been dead to coming back to life.
If
like,
that
if
doesn't
Fido doesn't work,
if that doesn't elicit hope for the future and to stay alive, what
then
will?
what would? So just two more things I have is one of my favorite shots was the effectiveness of the shadows when Raiden and Shin were talking.
Becoming one.
And the fact that we pan up and it's like almost like a glob of one person, and then Raiden starts to walk away, you know, giving that visual representation of togetherness, but then actually truly we are two parts that cannot be one shadow. We cannot actually walk. Are we even going to walk the same path? Can we even walk the same path?
Yeah.
And it came, I would guess, very much close to after the train track example that you brought up of like one ending and one continuing.
Yeah.
That was one thing. And then my second thing is we don't have to look for Kiri and go after Kiri. He's coming to us. Yeah.
God. It's so good, man. Sometimes, like, do you ever have any, like, stories or books that you read that are so memorable because of the quality that when you go back and revisit it, you're not, like, rewatching or rereading it, but, like, you're reading it again to, like, bask in its quality and, like, be like, oh, yes, let me just, like, admire it this time around rather than re-experience it. That's what 86 feels like to me, like in the hope of being able, or I know I will rewatch this show it will feel like that.
When you frame the question like that, it made me think to what I was so fond of studying, which is reading plays as literature, basically, because I was so entertained by the way just you reading it a certain way or a different person reading it, having the different subjective ways of being able to interpret what a character means by what they're saying with the written word, how you could emotionally play that line to totally distort the context or the tension in the scene. And this is one this it you
It's perfect
framing
for
the
discourse.
question like that made me think of 86 in terms of what if this was a play? How would it change things emotionally with a different character having a different or a different person having a different delivery of the same line, you know?
I don't think I would be terrified of trying to like find somebody to play Shin. You can't.
Let's do
like,
86 the play.
It's so like Shin is so great. Of a
casting
character.
starting now for Shin.
All right, that's all I have you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.